The New York Times opinion piece titled "A Million Men with Kalashnikovs Are Dangerous" opens with host David French reflecting on how the war in Ukraine has shifted since early 2022. He recalls a February conversation with Michael Kaufman, a senior fellow in the Russia and Eurasia program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, who told him that time is not on Russia's side. French notes that Russia enjoys a larger population and a far bigger defense industrial base than Ukraine, advantages that historically favor the side able to pour more men and material onto the battlefield. Yet, as months have passed, Kaufman's assessment has proven correct: the conflict is not going well for Russia. French then turns to his colleague Corey Sheikh, a senior fellow and director of foreign and defense policy studies at the American Enterprise Institute, who recently returned from Ukraine. Sheikh affirms that much of French's impression of a turning tide is accurate. She points out that Ukraine's deep strike capabilities, particularly its long-range drones and missile strikes, are now materially damaging the Russian economy, while its medium strike assets are disrupting Russian logistics and undermining the ability to supply frontline troops. On the ground, Ukrainian forces are inflicting catastrophic losses on Russian units, to the extent that the Russian advance has slowed to a crawl, if it is advancing at all. Sheikh notes that this situation creates a strong incentive for Vladimir Putin to consider a ceasefire. She highlights the growing effectiveness of Ukraine's defense industry, which has gotten its production lines meshing so that it can field quality drones and long-range weapons at scale. Consequently, Russian forces are reportedly suffering up to 35,000 casualties per month, a rate that exceeds their capacity to replace lost personnel and equipment. The sand, as Sheikh puts it, is clearly running through the hourglass for the Russians. Despite the grinding stalemate on the land front, French observes that President Volodymyr Zelensky is shifting focus to the air domain, arguing that victory may come from controlling the skies. Sheikh acknowledges that this emphasis might be somewhat optimistic, but she agrees that the factual developments on the ground are giving Ukrainian forces momentum and bolstering their resolve to continue fighting. The conversation then moves to the darker possibility: if Russia faces defeat, could that make Vladimir Putin even more dangerous? French and Sheikh discuss how a desperate leader might escalate, though they refrain from speculating beyond what the article presents. The piece concludes by underscoring that, while Ukraine appears to be gaining the upper hand, the war's trajectory remains uncertain and the stakes for both sides, and for global security, remain extraordinarily high. That's a brief look at the arguments presented in the New York Times opinion column "A Million Men with Kalashnikovs Are Dangerous." Thanks for listening.